The New York Rangers are definitely going to be a very busy team this offseason as they've got lots of moves to make. They've got many restricted free agents to re-sign and, of course, hopefully are going to make multiple trades where we potentially see some actual upgrades happen with this team. And I think it's obvious if this team wants to really compete for that cup, they're going to have to go out there and make some additions and some upgrades on this team. So in today's video, we've got three kind of different pieces of trade news here to kind of take a look at here. Three different kind of trade updates involving the New York Rangers that we're going to break down and really kind of talk about in today's video and kind of see whether or not these possible and kind of potential moves here could be good or bad for the New York Rangers, and really just kind of break down that in today's video. So let's get started here and take a look at the first piece of kind of news here, or the first kind of trade update we have here involving the New York Rangers, and that is, of course, with Keandre Miller, and this is all from a Yahoo Sports article, which, of course, I will have linked in the description if you want to go have a read for it for yourself. But taking a look here, they go on to say about Keandre Miller, Molly Walker speculated that the next Ranger to be traded is Keandre Miller. The 25-year-old defenseman is an RFA with arbitration rights coming off a disappointing 2024-25 performance. If Drury moves Miller, Walker believes he must find a suitable minute-munching blue liner to replace him. The Hockey News' Remy Masty cited Daily Faceoff's Frank Saravalli claiming, quote, "There's absolute fire." Regarding the Miller trade speculation, Saravalli claimed Mike Sullivan, the Rangers' new coach, is not a fan of the young Blue Liners game. And that's pretty interesting because it does seem like that maybe a guy like Mike Sullivan has a little more say on this kind of roster stuff than maybe the past couple coaches the team has had, like Gerard Gallant and Peter Laviolette. Maybe a guy like Mike has a little more say, and I think that definitely seems quite possible. And if that's the case, and Mike isn't the biggest fan of Keandre Miller, and with him and kind of where he's at right now in his career and in the contract situation there, to me, it makes a lot of sense to look to trade this player away. And, you know, there's definitely going to be lots of teams interested in a guy like Keandre, and I know he gets scrutinized a lot by Rangers fans, and, you know, we criticize him a lot, and I'm there too as well. I criticize him a ton, but at the end of the day, he is still the type of defenseman that many teams in the NHL would not mind taking a swing on and could say, hey, if we get this guy on our team, he could turn things around. So to me, he's definitely someone with still a good bit of value left, and I think if we do trade him away, which at this point I'm definitely guessing we are going to, I think we're going to be able to get back some actual pretty good value in return. I don't think it's going to be like, you know, obviously like 2 first-round picks and a great prospect, but it definitely could be some pretty decent value coming back. And I don't exactly know what that's going to be. And of course, when it does happen, / if it does happen, I'll of course have a video kind of breaking that down. But I really do feel like if we are able to trade him away, we're going to get back some actual decent value, which also, with trading him away, you know, kind of opens up that extra about maybe hypothetically kind of $6 million in cap space or so, which the Rangers would probably have to give him on his next deal. And maybe it's a little bit less there because it does seem like he wants that kind of, you know, shorter term deal. So maybe it's more of like a 2-year deal at like $5 million or $4.75. I don't exactly know, but just assuming, you know, you're going to have to pay him at least, you know, that 4.75, $5 million mark up to like that $6 million mark, you know, you're going to save a good amount of cap space there by trading away Keandre, and you're also going to get back some decent assets, whether that's kind of a nice young NHL player to help you right now, or whether that's, you know, a first round pick or some picks and prospects, you know, a bunch of whoever it is, you know, you're going to get some good kind of value back, some good assets back, and you can use that in other trades or, of course, to actually, you know, help this team right now, depending on what you get back in return. But point being, you're going to save some cap space by trading him away, and you're also able to get back what I would imagine is some actual pretty good value. And also, you're opening up that roster spot to add in maybe a more kind of reliable defensive defenseman, which definitely could be exact kind of what this team is missing. And you know, if you trade away guy like Keandre, it really does open up the possibility and kind of gives you even more of a kind of percentage chance, I guess, of kind of signing a guy like Gavrikov, who I really do think could be a real difference maker for this team and could be exact kind of what this team really and truly is missing. And next up here, we've got a little update involving Alexi Lafreniere and some kind of trade speculation surrounding him, as they go on to say, meanwhile, Walker's colleague Larry Brooks believes there's no guarantee that Alexi Lafreniere will still be a Ranger when the regular season begins in October. He thinks Drury wants to make multiple moves to change the mix on the ice and the chemistry in the locker room under Sullivan. And I think that definitely could make some sense there to trade away a guy like Alexi Lafreniere. Now, I've been a big fan of Alexi for quite some time now. I've got, Lafreniere jersey there. I would definitely be sad to see him go, but at the end of the day there, I want to see this team become a real great, consistent Stanley Cup contender. And if trading away a guy like Alexi Lafreniere nets them back some potentially kind of great value there, then I'm all for that, right? I would still be sad to see him get traded away, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to see this team kind of improve. And if you can get back some great players or great value or one great, young guy coming back there for Lafreniere, whatever it is, maybe that is worth it there. And I think there would definitely be quite a few teams that are probably pretty enticed to go after a guy like Lafreniere with, him being locked up already under contract. I'm sure some teams out there that wouldn't mind picking up that contract with a guy locked up long-term with a guy of Lafreniere's talent. So that could make some sense there for lots of teams around the league. We'll have to wait and see kind of what interest does start coming up there. But at the end of the day there, if they do want to trade away a guy like Lafreniere there to really kind of switch up this roster and to add in a different kind of piece there that they think might work better, then I'm all for that. At the end of the day, I really just do want to see this team get back on track there and really become a true Stanley Cup contender so I can see them win, hopefully, a cup for the first time in my lifetime. And next up here, we've got some trade news, of course, involving the New York Rangers and JJ Purka, who has been heavily linked to the Rangers for quite some time now, and many other teams around the league as well. I mean, he's just been linked to lots of different types of trade for quite some time, but since the trade deadline, that's when things kind of really started to heat up there around JJ and him possibly getting traded away, and that's where I saw the Rangers being really heavily linked to him, and it makes some sense there. It seems like JJ doesn't want to sign a long-term deal with Buffalo, which, can you really blame the guy there? He wants to, I'm sure, compete for a cup and possibly, go win some playoff games and at least play in the playoffs there, and if he signs a long-term Buffalo on a 6, 7, 8-year deal, he's probably not going to be able to do that for at least the foreseeable future, right? So to me, seeing a young guy like this want to go somewhere else, it definitely does make some sense. There'd be a massive loss for Buffalo, but I think if he is in the block there, he is possibly going to get traded away. The Rangers definitely should be one of those teams making lots of calls there with Kevin Adams and the Buffalo Sabres who possibly try and facilitate a trade. And the Rangers could also acquire JJ Purka by facilitating an offer sheet, which there is kind of one stick up to that right now, and it is the 2026 second-round pick, which they'd have to go out there and reacquire from the Utah Mammoth, because if you are offer sheeting it for a player, you have to give up your own specific picks there. It can't be like, if the Rangers are doing it, they can't go out there and send away hypothetically like a Philadelphia Flyers second round pick and their first and third. They have to give up their first, their second, and their third, or whatever those draft picks are. They have to give up their own picks, not another team. So that's kind of the one stick up there. They'd have to go reacquire their second round pick for the 2026 draft. And they go on to say about JJ Purka in the article, Arthur Staple of The Athletic considers Drury in a position where he could go the offer sheet route to add a talented young player. He speculated that JJ Purka of the Buffalo Sabres could be a target. Staple pointed out that the Rangers lacked their 2026 second round pick, like I was talking about, which would be necessary as compensation if they signed Purka to a deal with an average annual value between $7 million and $9.3 million, which, of course, would be that mark there. It'd be somewhere in there. It would definitely be more than $7 million there. He wouldn't be at the kind of low end of that there, but he wouldn't also, I don't think, be quite at that kind of, $9.3 million mark. So somewhere in between there, he'll probably get, I'm sure, and I think he's definitely worth something in there. He's a very, very talented young player, has a lot more room to grow, and I think when you consider kind of what he did on such an awful Buffalo Sabres team, a franchise that has been, unfortunately, sorry to say for them, but an absolute disaster for so many years now. It's been so long, over a decade, of course, like whatever, 14 plus years, whatever it's been since they made the playoffs there. So it's been such a long time, and I think when you consider kind of what JJ did last season there, and he did kind of cool off, I believe, a bit near the end of the season, but for the most part there, he was still such a great player on such a bad team. So I think when you really consider all that, JJ is someone who definitely seems like he has a lot more room to grow and get even better. So picking up a guy like this and having him locked up on a long-term deal right now with that cap skyrocketing up over the coming off seasons and years, to me, this could be an absolute stellar pickup and could be one of those guys who you look at in 3-4 years and say, hey, man, we got this absolute top-line star winger. he was on this great like $7.5 million contract, and he's putting up well over a point per game, right? He could be one of those kind of guys, and I really do think picking him up would be such just an amazing ad for this team. But he's definitely not going to be cheap, cap wise, or of course value wise either. Whether it is going for an offer sheet, which is going to cost you like a first, second, and third round pick or so, or even if it isn't that, it's still going to cost you a lot because you're obviously going to have to go out there and send away some great value. So it's not going to be cheap no matter what for JJ, but if you can pick him up, like I said, he really could be such an incredible pickup for this team. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. Do you agree with my thoughts and takes there on thinking that, trading away a guy like Lafreniere, may be a good idea if you can get the right value back there? Do you want to see the Rangers go after a guy like JJ Purka? Do you think he could be a good pickup? Which I definitely think he could, of course. And also, what do you want to see happen there with Keandre Miller? Do you want to see him come back? Do you want to see him get traded away? Let me know your kind of thoughts here on these trade scenarios and kind of trade possibilities, I guess you could say, in the comment section down below. I'll catch you in the next one, and let's go Rangers.